We're here at the 2015 NCAA Division III Track and Field Championships, and joining us is Aedin Brennan of Denison, the heptathlon champion for this year. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
We were just talking, you said you PR'd in just about every event. It's got to be pretty satisfying to do that at a national championship.
Yeah, well, that's always the goal, of course, but this time it started off with a PR in the hurdles and the high jump. Shot put didn't go too well for almost anybody. And then the 200 was just shy of my PR, by 100th of a second. So, the first day was fantastic, and then today obviously went well too.
So you started the day in third place. Did you feel like you were in a position where you had a shot to win it?
Yeah, it used to be in the past that the second day was always my best. So this year, long jump has been going a lot better, and that normally makes a big difference. If I have a good jump there, things tend to go better.
You headed into the 800 with the lead. Can you talk a little bit about that race, how it felt going in and as you're coming down the home stretch?
I don't think I've ever been so passionate about an 800. I've never really liked it, but knowing that I was kind of running for first place, it was a totally different experience. I felt fine the first lap. I didn't even feel tired, and I just locked in with Allie. I knew she's a fantastic 800 runner, and yeah, I just zoned out, focused on her, and just kept running and just ignored everything else.
Well, congratulations, Aedin. Again, Aedin Brennan of Denison, the national champion in the heptathlon.
Good day, everyone, and welcome back for another edition of DSN Classic Conversation. Today, we are excited to welcome 2016 Denison graduate Aedin Brennan from the track and field program, as well as Denison's track and field and cross-country head coach Mark FitzPatrick to the program today. Thanks for joining us today, Aedin and Mark. How are you guys doing so far?
Doing fine. Thank you for having me.
Doing great, Curt. Thanks for having us. This is it's really great to catch up with Aedin and reminisce a little bit.
That's absolutely right. And given the less than normal circumstances that we're all dealing with right now, how have each of your lives been impacted professionally and personally so far here in 2020?
Well, for me, I've been very fortunate to work for a company that made a very easy transition to working from home. So I've been remote since early March now. So felt a lot safer, a lot happier doing all that's going on. And then with that, I had a lot more time to get to know my now husband. Just got married last month. So 2020, as strange as it has been, is a good year for me, at least.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah, Curt, personally, my wife and daughter were making the most of it, taking advantage of a little of the downtime and being able to spend some quality time together. Obviously, a coach's life can be hectic and not around a lot, and they're busy as well. So we've taken a lot of advantage of the quality time together. And professionally, Denison has just been great this fall. I'm really proud of our students and how they have risen to the challenge and have done what is necessary to stay healthy and remain on campus. Our faculty and staff and administrative have been very supportive in all facets of life. And, athletics, while we haven't been able to compete, in some ways it felt like a normal fall or spring with all the teams out there practicing and scrimmaging and seeing athletes, around doing what they normally do when COVID isn't around. So it's been we've made the most of the opportunity and have had a positive experience.
Very true. I'm lucky enough to get to see that every day here on campus as well. Well, today we're also going to just kind of take a moment, turn back the clock to May 22nd, 2015, when you, Aedin, completed your journey to the top of the NCAA Division III mountain when you captured the first national title in Denison women's track and field history with the first place finish in the heptathlon at the 2015 NCAA Division III Outdoor Championships. Following a pair of seventh place finishes the previous 2 years, how focused and determined were you to bring a national title back to Granville as a junior?
It's a funny question, actually, because Coach will laugh at this. We specifically had a conversation about the potential that maybe I could win a championship. And I told Coach I had no real interest in that. And that wasn't one of my goals. I really hadn't considered it. I was actually much more interested in finally trying to compete in the 400 hurdles, triple jump, because in my mind, potentially getting trophies and getting All-Americans in more events, that meant more to me. I'd already done the heptathlon. I knew all the competitors. And I still remember Coach being pretty shocked. It took him at least a day to kind of, we went back to that conversation quite a few times. But when I finally got focused, and I did an interview at one point, and I remember Coach was in the background just kind of listening with all his hope and dreams all in there with me, finally announcing I was only going to do the heptathlon. And then, well, triple jump as well, but not to try and throw in 400 hurdles in the middle of 7 other events.
Good point. What were you thinking at this point, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, I'll remember that day vividly that Aedin mentioned about the conversation we had. I believe it was at javelin practice. Aedin and I were working one-on-one with the javelin, and it definitely, I was shocked, and just kind of had to think, and how can you convince? And I guess for those that don't know, it's the Outdoor National Championship is a 3-day meet. The heptathlon is the first 2 days, Thursday and Friday. It consists of 7 events. And in the mix there is one of those days is the 400 hurdles preliminary rounds. And they go on right during the middle of the heptathlon. So Aedin would have had to leave whatever event she was doing in the heptathlon to go run the 400 hurdles and then come back. And it just, not that it can't be done, but it's really taxing, and it would really, really would have hurt her chances of winning. I believe that the 400 hurdles is, in my opinion, the hardest event in track and field, and that would have really left her tired and difficult to recover for the rest of the heptathlon. So, we figured it out. Again, in the end, it was Aedin's experience, and she made the choice. And fortunately, she went on to win the national championship and do well in the triple jump as well, earn All-American honors there. Leading up to it, Coach Schaefer and I. We knew first year that before Aedin stepped on campus, we knew that she was a special athlete and that she would be very competitive. We quickly realized once we started working with her on a regular basis that she was more than that, and that she was capable of doing some great things, just incredible range, incredible athleticism. And really, I think Aedin's, besides her athleticism and work ethic and attitude, and approach to everything, I think her greatest strength is the mental game. You'll never find a tougher competitor. If she had a down event, she moved on from it and forgot about it and just focused on the next, and was able to really compartmentalize and do what she needed to do. And we're really, so I knew that she would go far, and I really knew she was ready to win actually indoors at nationals when she placed 4th in the pentathlon. It was her best showing at that point. She had a great meet, and knowing that Aedin was better suited for the heptathlon and the pentathlon because of the events that were added and were strengths for her, I knew that she was in good position to truly compete for the national championship that spring.
Well, I think on behalf of everybody here at Denison, we're very thankful that you decided to stick with the heptathlon, Aedin. So thank you for that, first and foremost.
Curt, and I'll add, it was a tough choice because Aedin, without a doubt, Aedin would have qualified for nationals in the 400 hurdles. Mm-hmm. I'm 100% confident that she would have been an All-American in the 400 hurdles. And I maybe not as confident, but still highly confident that she maybe could have competed for a national championship in the 400 hurdles as well. And so I know it was a tough decision. I guess at that time, I just felt more confident about the heptathlon than the 400 hurdles.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. I think it was a smart choice. Even at my peak, doing potentially 2 400 hurdle races in the mix of other events, I think it would have worn me out.
Well, we talk about the decision that you ultimately made. Let's just go ahead and set the stage for everyone watching at home. Let's go back to that moment, May 22nd, 2015. You entered the second day of the heptathlon in 3rd place with 2,981 points after competing in the 100-meter hurdles, the high jump, the shot put, and the 200-meter dash. You were only 38 points behind the leader. Did you both believe that you would lead the track that day as national champion?
From my perspective, I was confident that Aedin was in very good position to win at that point in time. Looking at the second day, the 3 events on the second day are the long jump, the javelin, and the 800 meters. And so all 3 strong events for her, with the javelin being the weakest. And it's generally the weakest for all of the heptathletes, or one of the weakest. And so knowing that one of her strongest events was the first to lead off the day in the long jump, she'd set ourselves up well. She had a good javelin, she'd be fine. And then in the 800s, again, one of the strongest 800-meter runners out there in the heptathlon. So we knew that we both knew that she had a great chance. And if she had a good day, she'd be in contention.
Yeah, I wasn't sure I believed it yet. Heptathlon, being somebody that in the past I was usually, I don't know, in the heptathlon, I was sometimes 17th going in. I think my freshman year going into the second day, I was kind of used to being down low, and I know that if I could change it that much, anybody really could change the field. But it really didn't click until the 800. But I started to gain some momentum after my second long jump. I remember my first jump went out there, it wasn't what I wanted. Second one flipped the numbers around, and I was pretty happy. I think it was 5.15, and I've switched it to 5.1, and I was happy. And the happier I am, the better competitor I am. It was funny, just throughout my time at Denison. If I was mad, I didn't focus. If I was happy, I didn't seem focused, but I was much better across the board. And I remember everybody was starting to get cold. I think one of my top competitors, Ali Boudreau, she had like 5 or 6 pairs of sweatpants and shirts on. And for me, I actually like cooler weather. And so I started to think that, hey, I'm doing pretty well. And I think everybody else is starting to shut down. So by the 800, though, it really clicked that I had the chance to win.
That's great. And you talk about that, that switch, kind of the flip that you did there. You went from a 38-point deficit to a 13-point lead with that first event, the long jump, where you placed second. And then you added to your lead with a 7th place showing in the javelin, building your lead to then 91 points. And then you had one event to go. You had the 800-meter run. For Coach, where were your nerves at that point? And were you confident that she was just going to finish the job, or were you just nervous?
I was both. Obviously you guys know me. I tend to be a little bit of a warrior sometimes, and so while I was confident, it's competition and there's no guarantees, and so you actually have to go out there and finish the job, right? And so I knew that Aedin was very capable, but anything can happen. I was probably most nervous in the javelin. I already alluded to it. The javelin is a very difficult event for the heptathletes, for many of them. And Aedin could be inconsistent in that event. Some days she looked like a conference champion, and then other days she looked like she never picked it up in her life before. So, and it just depended on the day. And I knew that if she got through the javelin with a solid throw, she'd be in great position. So I did feel better once we got to the 800 and was fairly confident, but still needed to see her cross the finish line to be completely certain.
And for Aedin, were you ready to make that the best 800-meter run of your life?
Well, I still, that's the one part I remember the most after 5 years now, is throughout my entire career with Coach, I used to drive him crazy with the 800 because I refused to warm up. I already competed all day long, and I'd take one extra step. I was about to run as fast as I could for half a mile. That's it. And every single meet, he always would break down and say, okay, you're going to need to go out in 35 and see if you can come back. And I remember him basically sighing and looking at me going, I know it's not going to matter that much, but you need to go out in 35. And I remember him through everything, and I was listening. I always was listening, but this time in particular, I was waiting just for the one detail that he and Coach Schaefer always gave me, which was kind of my bubble, my little safety bubble of how fast I needed to run or how close I could be to anybody else. And I think I remember laughing because Ali Boudreau, I only had to be within 12 seconds of her. Now that sounds like a ridiculously large amount of time in the 800, and I was a competitive runner, so 12 seconds sounds silly. But I believe that season she had run exactly 12 seconds faster than I had at that point. And so I was a little bit more nervous about that. But and I still remember Coach going through and saying, all right, you're just going to go out, don't do anything superhuman, just go out and run your race. And I remember after the gun went off, I decided to stay with Allie because I had to keep that 12-second bubble. And I heard people yelling the splits at the 200 meter, and I heard 31, 32, and It's, about 3 seconds, 4 seconds faster than I like to go. And I never like to put out that much right in the first lap. So I still remember I was hot on her heels, and then I heard that 31, 32, and I thought, maybe I'll just step back a little bit. She can lead for now. I'll just stay in my little distance there, because the coach was right. No, the 35 second is pretty good for my 800 running, but it was the only 800 that I ran, and after the first lap, I wasn't worn out. I wasn't dreading the next lap. I finished the first lap and was ready. It just kept on running. I didn't immediately get to that kind of the turn and look over to the finish line and think, well, if I make it. It was just fun. Allie was really kind of carrying me, but I felt strong, and I still remember that was obviously the fastest 800 I ever ran. And it was comfortable enough. And I knew that as I got close to the finish line, she was only, in the end, she beat me by about 2 seconds. And it's just one of the most exciting 800s, because it takes a while, to recover from that. But I didn't really realize what I had done. And I was proud of myself, because it used to be that when I ran the 800, the first thing I wanted to do was sit down. But I thought, I'm at nationals, and I'm better than that. I'll stand up and pretend like I'm not worn out.
You knew the crowd that you were playing to at that point, right, Aedin?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, my family was there. My brother flew in from Washington State with his wife, and the first thing I didn't want to be laying on the ground as if I had died. So I really did, looking like I was a fit athlete, which apparently I was. I did just fine.
Well, once you finally were able to understand the situation that you had just won the national championship, where were you at that point? Was it a feeling of relief, excitement, joy? What was going through your mind?
Well, as I said, it takes a minute to realize what's happened. But the first thing was that Allie Boudreau, she looked at me and said, "Congrats, champ." And it started to register that I had won. And then kind of as I was looking around, I looked up and saw the scoreboard and saw my name on the top, and I saw the score. And then I looked over and looked at the time on the 800. And then there were officials who are often around at the North Coast Athletic Conference who were looking at me all excited. And I saw Marv start to make his way over. And obviously the coaches, every person started to build on it. I could hear my family finally going wild in the crowd. My sister-in-law in particular just screaming and apparently crying with joy. So I've never seen any of these competitions, and she was so excited. And yeah, it started to click. And of course I was so excited, and they grabbed you right away for interviews, and you're still trying to catch your breath. So, but I was delighted. I can say that was one of those things. I remember too, that when I finally got to coach, the first thing I really said to him was, "Ha, got you, coach. I told you I didn't want to win." That kind of stuff. So it was one of the nicest finishes to that year.
And still the 8th best score in NCAA Division III. That's the fact that it's still holding up pretty good. That's pretty special, Aedin.
I'm excited about that.
Yeah. It's obviously pretty hard to top a national championship, but you both experienced so much success together as athlete and coach. Will this be the memory that you both always go back to as you look at that incredible run together?
So when I look at it, obviously that was the end. What I'll remember is the journey, and not so much the destination. While the destination is nice, and I'll never forget the opportunity to coach a national champion. It was the process along the way, and it was a collaboration. And one person we haven't mentioned in passing, but one person we want to give credit to is Ashley Schaefer, Coach Schaefer, our assistant coach during Aedin's time here. Ashley's now the head track and field coach at Muskingum. But Ashley and Aedin, they were really a dynamic pair. They're the ones that really worked day in and day out together. Ashley was our hurdles and our jumps coach, which are most of the events that make up the heptathlon. So they worked a lot together. I worked with Aedin, in a few of the throwing events and the 800. But it really was a collaboration between all three of us. And, just that journey together and making decisions and setting training up and setting meets up to get Aedin to nationals and things along those lines. And, more personally, just with Aedin and I'll remember just, that, when I worked with Aedin in the throws. And she was the only thrower that I worked with really at that point in time. So that was the one opportunity that I got to work with her one-on-one. And we had a lot of great conversations in those practices. And then just the trips that we made, had a lot of great conversations. And so those are the things that I'll really remember and cherish leading up to that point with Aedin winning the national championship.
Yeah, I would say that, of course, this is something that is it's a huge part of the memories, but for me, it's mostly just because I'm very thankful that Coach he guided me in the right direction, because at the time I was stubborn, probably more so than I am now. And the idea of telling me that I couldn't do, he didn't say I couldn't do, but he recommended that I not overdo it by, trying to manage 3 events, which would include the heptathlon at nationals. It really was something that I'm very appreciative that he spent time and went through and worked with me. And same with Coach Schaefer. I don't even think she had to worry about it. She knew I'd figure it out, but Fitz worried for a long time. But oh God, the memories that I have for the track season. Every time I think about anything, every year I can think of things. And when I first started, it was like going on family trips with Coach Fitz and Coach Schaefer. Because it was, when I went the first time, it was by myself, and we took a van, drove up to Chicago. And I had never been. It's in the middle of winter. And, the coaches really made an effort to take me out or see some of the places that we were competing in. And we kind of had like a little mini special trip every time, or even if it was just going to one of the restaurants and just goofing around for a little bit. Because again, I was always a much better competitor when I was at ease. Keeping things light was, I think it took Coach a little while to get used to my style, but he made it easy for me in the end. And I can't thank them enough, of course, because that's a memory and an accomplishment that no one can ever take away from any of us. So it's something I really appreciate.
That's good. And again, both of you, we really appreciate you joining us here and going down memory lane here as we just thank you so much for that. And we here at DSN wish you nothing but the best throughout the rest of the fall and especially into the holiday season. And for Coach, here's to hoping that we get some competition in very soon. So Thank you so much both for being here today.
Thank you, Curt. Thank you, Aedin.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
You're so welcome. And thanks for everyone for joining us. We'll see you next time on DSN Classic Conversation.